Okay, welcome to Chapter 2, Part 2. We have a family has an annual income of $36,000, and we want to know how much is spent on housing, knowing that 1/5 of $36,000 is spent on housing. Typically, when you hear the word of, it means multiply. So we have 36,000 over 1 times 1/5. 5 goes into 36 7 times with 1 left over. 5 goes into 10 twice. 5 goes into 0, 0, and 0. 5 goes into 5 once. 7,200 times 1 is 7,200 over 1, which is 7,200. So $7,200 is spent on housing. What is the reciprocal of 2/3? So the reciprocal is when we invert the numbers, so it would be 3 over 2. We need to know reciprocals when we divide, because we divide by the reciprocal. We multiply and multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/9 would be 9 over 1, which is simply 9. The reciprocal of 6, which is really 6 over 1, is 1/6. So now we're going to divide fractions. So think of this as a dozen donuts, and we're dividing them by 2. So we're going to have 12 times, and I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. 12 is over 1. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. I don't need to write that. So my answer is 2 piles of 6 donuts. Now, when we have 12 divided by 1/2, that's asking us if we have a dozen donuts, how many half pieces will we have? So if I take 12 and multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2, I'm going to get 24. So I get 24 half pieces of donuts. Here, when I have division, I have 4 over 7 times 4 over 1. This gives me 4 times 4. Remember, I cannot cross out numerator to numerator. So I get 16. 7 times 1. That's an improper fraction. Typically, we want to see it as a mixed number. 7 goes into 16 twice as 14. So I have 2 left over. One-third divided by 5 is the same as 1/3 times 1/5. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to put this as an improper fraction because it's easier to add, subtract, multiply, and divide with an improper improper fraction. So I'm taking my mixed number to an improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7 over 2. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. You can reduce them here, or you can reduce them at the end. I prefer to reduce them here simply because I'm working with smaller numbers then. 7 times 2 is 14. 1 times 1 is 1. And again, I don't need to show 14 over 1. I'm going to turn these both into improper fractions. So I have 6 7/3. And I'm going to divide by 24/5. So my next step would be 7/3 times, and I'm flipping it or multiplying by the reciprocal. Now I cannot cancel anything. 7 doesn't go into 24, 3 doesn't go into 5, so I multiply straight across. 7 times 5 is 35. 3 times 24 is 72. This looks very complicated, but it is not. It is the same thing as saying 5/9 divided by 35 over 54. So now to do this problem, I have to 5/9 times the reciprocal. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 35 7 times. 9 goes into 9 once. 9 goes into 54 6 times. Therefore, my answer is 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 7 is 7. So my answer is 6/7. I am going to do the same procedure here. 7/8 divided by 35 over 64, which is the same as 7/8 times 64 over 35. Again, I know 7 goes into 35 and 7. I know 8 goes into 8 and 8 goes into 64. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 5 is 5. That's an improper fraction. My mixed number, 5 goes into 8 one time with 3 left over. As a mixed number, that's my answer. As an improper fraction, that's my answer. So a doctor has 9/17 quart of medication that he needs to divide by 3 patients. So how much medication will each patient get? So I'm going to divide this by 3, which is the same thing as saying 9/17 times 1/3, because remember there's really a 1 here. So the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. I can cancel 3 into 3 once, 3 into 9 3 times. So my answer, 3 times 1 is 3. 17 times 1 is 17. So each of them would get 3/17 of a quart. The work together, I will put the answers up here. So pause, do the work, check your answers, and if you have any questions with any of these, I'm going to ask you to put that in the discussion link on my MATLabs. Thanks.